All right, welcome to Extra Magic Minutes, episode 3. This week we're going to talk about
Yay.
our favorite deluxe and DVC resorts, two separate lists, but some overlap, some similarities, and some differences I think that we're going to talk about too.
Yep.
So, what do you want to start with? And
Um, we can start with deluxe.
okay, and you want to work our way from the bottom, and you go, and then we'll do like you
Yeah.
start, you lead, and then if I have overlaps, we'll just discuss that resort as we get to it.
Okay. So my number 8 resort for deluxe is the Yacht Club. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this resort. It's just not really my style. I've never stayed there, but I've been there for the restaurants and stuff and just walking by. And it seems as stuffy as the Grand Floridian without the aesthetic that I like. And so that's why I have it as my last on my list.
A lot of people have trouble. I have Yacht Club at 7 out of 8, right? Instead of 8, 8
Yeah.
deluxe resorts. I have it at 7. There seems to be, I've never stayed there, but I've eaten there. I've like walked through the lobby. I've taken Christmas photos there at Christmas time. There's nothing like wrong with it. I think that's the difficult part about this list, right? Like
Yeah.
none of these resorts are terrible. It's just not a lot of people's preference. And I just think
Right.
because there's the other options, the theming is so much better that it falls to the bottom of many people's lists.
Yeah.
People
It's
have any
also
specific complaints that you know about?
no, it's also just very dark in there. Like when you walk in, it's not this bright, airy, I'm in Florida kind of situation. It's like I'm in a dungeon almost. I don't know. It's not my style.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Okay.
What's next on your list?
Number 7 is the Contemporary. Again, it's just not my style. I'm not super into that super straight lines, lack of theming kind of thing. Can you hear that? There's like trucks outside my window that are being very loud. Um,
You're good.
but yeah, so it's just not my style. I do love obviously that the monorail goes right through. That's iconic Disney World. But it's just at the bottom of my list of places that I would want to go to and stay.
Contemporary was the last on my list, and I was thinking about this because I think we've discussed this. Why do like people from our generation not
Not really
like the
like the
contemporary?
contemporary. Yeah.
It seems like the people that like the contemporary that have nostalgia for it from when they were kids. That seems
Yeah.
to be the vibe I'm getting. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with it. It's got a great location. That's the biggest thing it has going for it. I just when I've walked through there, I just never get like a inviting feeling. It's very like intentionally kind of cold and clinical, like you said, straight modern lines. And like
Yeah.
we're in this space now with both the contemporary and Tomorrowland, where at the time it was built, it was contemporary, but now
Mhm.
it feels like a 70s version of contemporary. So it feels out of place. It feels
Yeah.
like, and they have up, the rooms are beautiful. They've updated the rooms. So they've kept it up, but like you can't change the structure, which
Right.
isn't super appealing. But it does have California Grill, which is good. The monorail going through is very cool. The location is cool. It's still the bottom of my list because I would pick every single one of these resorts ahead of it. And even though it tends to be not the most expensive deluxe, it's still pricey. And if I'm going to spend that money, I will spend it at one of these other ones.
Right. And I think what you're going to see, at least in my DVC list, is this doesn't necessarily carry over to the DVC sides. I think I'm specifically talking about the hotel side. And I think part of that is that weird, you have to like go up one level and then it's like Chef Mickey's and the Fantasia gift shop and stuff. I just think that looks so weird. Like
Yeah,
it's like you're like a fork in the road and you have to go to one. I think it just looks very disorganized and it's just not my thing.
agreed.
So yeah, so wow, okay. We're grooving along here. So my number 6 is the Boardwalk. People
That's
love
controversial.
I know people love that resort and again, I've never stayed there. But I just think it doesn't have as much of the theming as some of the other ones do. I know Trish, if Trish is watching this, I used to work with Trish, and that is her and her family's favorite place to stay. They're DVC members. They love the boardwalk. They try to go there as much as they can. And I just don't. I always ask her, "What is the appeal?" I don't get it, and she loves the theming. It's just not my thing. That clown pool is the thing of nightmares, and I think staying on the Boardwalk has a lot of perks, right? You have, you know, the abracadabra, you have jelly rolls, you have all those things. You're right, you know, so close to Epcot and the Beach Club and Yacht Club. But I just, the theming just isn't there. And also, I mean, it's modeled after what, Atlantic City at the turn of the century. And I think, you know, we're so close to there that I don't know, even though it's not Atlantic City now, but Atlantic City back in the day, I think we can kind of get that from the nostalgia things that are 45 minutes away. So
I have the exact Boardwalk is at my number 6 too. And I have like the same exact feelings about it, which is so weird because I've seen many polls where so many people will say, especially DVC members, that that is their favorite resort, number one. And I'm so confused by it. And I think it's like for all of the reasons you said. Well, first
yeah,
of all, I think I have friends that have DVC there, and when they were pitched it, the salespeople said, and this is so compelling, and I get it. You can walk to 2 parks from Boardwalk very easily, and you can. The Hollywood Studios walk is a little bit farther. It's like 15, 20 minutes, depending on your pace. The Epcot walk is maybe 4 to 5 minutes. Like I did a
yeah,
walk from Boardwalk through the gate 4 or 5 minutes last year, so that's incredible. But there's something a little off about the theming. Like there's it's just like you've seen like the clown pool. There's creepy chairs. There's just this
oh my God,
weird
those grandma
creepy vibe.
chairs. So we, I mean, I get, and the thing is, that's what I love Imagineering for, those weird little touches. But somehow at the Boardwalk, it's scary. Those touches scare me.
Yeah, because I'm on. I guess like that comes from somewhere, like historically, like the turn of the century shore town thing. Like those influences are coming from somewhere, but like I don't understand them. Like I don't get it, and I don't get why it's
Yeah,
necessary. And it could be like I feel like it's like got this conflict where it's like on one hand like luxurious and like elegant, but then it's competing with all of this creepy stuff, and I get like a really
yeah,
weird vibe. And then
yeah,
on top of that, it's really amazing. We talk about like Riverside and all of these resorts or Old Key West where you can take a boat to downtown Disney for entertainment and activities. This resort actually has stuff going on right there, which is
yeah.
incredible. And another reason why people love it, it just like doesn't work for me. And maybe that's because I'm in a shore town right now that has
Right.
a real boardwalk, and it feels like a cheap imitation of that. Even though it's like you said, it's more of a historical inspiration than a contemporary inspiration. It just doesn't work for me. And I've never stayed there, but I've visited. I've eaten dinner there, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's number 6, and that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, but that's our list.
Fair. Sorry, Trish. Also, I will say, people love flying fish, and that's one of the. I think we're going to do an episode on places that we want to, you know, eat when everything opens back up again that we haven't tried yet. And that's at the top of my list. But I've eaten at Big River Grill. It is the Applebee's of Disney, and I just don't understand why it hasn't had some sort of. It's the only microbrewery on property. I don't understand why it isn't this like cool, hip place to hang out, and it's kind of just a chain restaurant, but that Disney runs. I don't understand it. So
Yeah, it's weird.
anyway, that's yeah. So number 5, this is another one that, you know, is at the top of a lot of people's lists, and I just don't get it. And we're going to talk about one specific reason why I don't get it is the Beach Club. Um, I It's the Yacht Club, but like blue and more kid friendly, and with the absolutely disgusting smell of Cape May Cafe. I'm not a seafood person. I'm not a fish person. I would never go to Cape May Cafe at dinner. For those of you who don't know, it is a, you know, seafood buffet. They have like crab legs and shrimp and things like that, but it makes the entire area around it smell like fish, and that is not an appealing smell to me. And I can't imagine walking in from a long day at the parks into my hotel and smelling that smell. That is the last thing that I want. So that's why Beach Club is my number. I get that both Yacht Club and Beach Club have Stormwong Bay, amazing pool, best on property probably, but I can't. The theming is, again, with the Yacht Club and with the Boardwalk, it's just vague beach town kind of, and that's just it's just not my thing. That plus the smell equals number 5.
I it's we have like the same list. That was also my number 5. I think we're going to change as we get up to the top. I had a similar experience with a smell at Beach Club, and I'm not sure if it was the same smell, but it was like shocking. I think the problem that I have with Beach Club is that even though I've like every time I visited, I've never stayed overnight there. Every time I visited, I'm like always disappointed. I still have this like romanticized image of Beach Club in my head because so many people rave about it. It's considered to be like one of the crown jewels of the Disney
Yeah.
resorts for sure. Like that's where Michael Eisner stayed. He like people love it. Families like go there year after year. It's like they will never stay anywhere else. And the
Right.
pool is definitely amazing.
Yeah.
And I would stay there for a night just to get a chance to go in that pool. All that being said, every time, like I said, every time I visit, I walk into the lobby and I'm like so underwhelmed because you could go to so many of these resorts and the lobbies are just so much more impressive. The grounds are so much more impressive. The big benefit here is obviously the commute to Epcot,
Right.
but it's that much farther away from Hollywood Studios, so that walk is almost out. And actually, it took me so long to realize this. Boardwalk is actually closer to Epcot than Beach Club. It doesn't really seem like it is, but if you look at that circle, if Beach Club is here and Boardwalk is here, Boardwalk you just have to finish this loop. It actually, if you look online, Boardwalk is actually closer. So Boardwalk is technically the resort with the closest walking to Epcot. So it loses that even. So I like it. I like the color scheme. I like the vibe. It's just like it hasn't won me over in the way that it has for other people. Maybe I need to stay there, and I'm sure I will someday, and maybe that'll mean that we need to revise my list. But other than that, that's my number 5.
I will also say that I think one of the big criticisms of Yacht and Beach is that they don't have a good quick service or basically quick service at all, just kind of a grab and go situation. And you can't say that about the things higher up on the list. Everything left, like the Polynesian has Captain Cook's, Wilderness Lodge has Roaring Fork, Animal Kingdom Lodge has the Mara. They have great quick services, and I don't really quite understand why the Beach Club and the Yacht Club haven't caught on to that. Because I know they have Hurricane Hannah's, I think it's called, at the pool, but if you're not actually in the pool area and you just want to grab something quickly and head to the park or something like that, or you're coming back from the park and just want to grab a quick dinner, that's not really there at either of those resorts. And the good thing is you can go to either one, use the pool at either. So I'm confused as to why neither of them have caught on to that.
Also worth mentioning, Beach Club does have beaches and cream, but you can walk there from Epcot, which is my style of doing that. You don't have to stay there to go there.
Yeah.
So it's a benefit, but it's not like a necessary. It's not like, when you go to Animal Kingdom lodges, restaurants, you kind of have to go out of your way to get there. Epcot's location makes it convenient to get there for ice cream. So
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so number 4, the Grand Floridian.
Okay.
Is that your number 4?
It is. Our list is definitely going to change as we go up, though.
Is it? We only have 3 left. I think DVC we're going to be very different.
DVC is hard because we have resorts with multiple DVC resorts within them, so it's going to get messy,
right.
I think.
Yes, and I know that one of your favorite DVCs is at the bottom of my list. So Grand Floridian, it's beautiful, right? I think we can all say it's beautiful. I actually do love the theming of it. I love that, Victorian, even though it's modeled after Hotel de Coronado or something. People always say that there's like a stuffiness inside the Grand Floridian, and I don't think that's coming from cast members or people staying there. I just think that theming makes me, it's like a living room that has like the special couch with the white carpet that you're not allowed to go in the room. Like that's how I feel about it. I feel like I can't just be myself there. I have to, be prim and proper and not like mess anything up. So that's how I feel about the Grand Floridian. Also, I know, we both watch a bunch of Disney YouTubers, and the service failures that have been at the Grand Floridian recently are just crazy and inexcusable for the flagship resort of Disney World. So I don't really understand why that's happening. So that's why I have it at number 4.
I was shocked that it ended up at number 4 because it's usually like I think because it is what it is, it's easy to be negative about it because it has like this high pedestal.
Yeah.
Like it almost invites criticism. I mean, it's obviously incredibly expensive, so the standards have to be high. It's incredibly elegant, so the standards have to be high. It's been criticized on a number of fronts recently, not just service, but also people noting, I think even Chapek himself, that it's starting to feel dated. It feels like a 90s version of elegant. So I
Right.
think there is a big I don't want to say re-theme, but big restyling of the Grand Floridian coming up. I would probably imagine that you're going to see a lot more minimalist stylings, maybe kind of what they've done with the DVC building, which we'll get to later, which I have lots of problems with. It is better than all of the resorts we've listed so far, no question. But
Mm.
that comes with like a significant price hike, almost double, I think, for most seasons. Like if you're talking about like if you can somehow get a room at like Boardwalk for like 350 to 400, Grand Floridian is going to be like 650, 700, like plus, depending on the kind of room. And if you're talking about club level, it's like almost triple what you'd pay to stay at Animal Kingdom, for example. It's a drastic price difference. It's almost like in its own category. So it deserves the scrutiny that it gets. It is obviously beautiful, but I've heard people say like, you know, it's so elegant that you would be uncomfortable, like coming from a bathing suit and then going into the lobby. Like there's a certain element where you're going to feel uncomfortable trying to have a Disney vacation in a place that's that elegant. So for some people, I think all of these flaws just kind of make it not an option. Like it's not, it doesn't fix all of these issues to justify people spending the additional money to stay there. But some people
Right.
love it. Like I know people that will only stay there. So
Fancy.
yeah, it's fancy.
But I
But I don't
think
think I could because
even
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, even if money was no object, I mean, obviously, I could stay there with my DVC points, but it's it's even too much, like points wise, it's too much. I'd rather spend 2 extra days at Animal Kingdom Lodge or 3 extra days at Old Key West than stay, a fewer days at Grand Floridian. Also, I mean, it has good restaurants. It has 1900 Park Fair. It has Citrico's. It has Narcoossee's. But those aren't. I know a lot of people love those restaurants. Well, my mom loves 1900 Park Fair because she loves Mary Poppins. So that was like the first place that we went over when we went in December. But Narcoossee's and Citrico's, I don't think of those places when I think, where do I want to have dinner on my Magic Kingdom day? I
Yeah.
don't think about those places. And I don't know why that is. I think it's because it's overshadowed by the food and beverage of Polynesian, maybe. But it should be so great. And it just doesn't jump to the front of my mind as the best in any category.
Yeah, and I think it's also that like the restaurants are good. People have like mixed feelings about Narcoossee's, which is used to be like a big deal. Um, but it's also like when you go there, you're also like basically committing yourself to a big lavish dinner at some point. So
Yeah.
it almost feels like I think maybe the people's problem with it is there's like a conflict between its elegance and the relative non-elegance of the rest of a Disney vacation. So like those two
Mm-hmm.
things are in conflict, and then people just can't get over that. And maybe I'm one of those people where like coming back from Magic Kingdom, you want to go to like a place that's like a beautiful, relaxing theme. I would say Riverside or Animal Kingdom Lodge. That feels like while these vacations can be very expensive, some of these resorts feel like accessible to everyone, like they're built for
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Yeah.
Grand Floridian feels exclusive in a way that can be alienating, I'm sure, to a lot of people. Even people that can afford to stay there maybe feel alienated because it's almost like an old money feeling. But
Yes. Well, I was going to say that I feel like old money people stay at the Grand Floridian and like new money or whatever stay at the Yacht Club. I feel like those are the two that are too stuffy for most people. But somehow I feel like, I don't know. I know people who will not stay anywhere but the Yacht Club, and I don't get it. But yeah, those tend to be younger. Um, yeah, I don't know. But then no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I
So
agree. I think I see younger affluent families gravitate towards like new money families gravitate towards Beach Club and Yacht Club, and
yeah.
old money families gravitate towards Grand Floridian for sure. Or if that's the vibe you're going for, those are the places you get them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I also just don't like the rooms of the Grand Floridian. I've seen so many videos, so many room tours, and they're just like they're not what you're expecting. You're expecting to walk in and see this beautiful, lavish room, and I feel like it just kind of falls very short on that. So
are they dated?
they're just monochromatic and plain, I would say.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say dated. And then There was, again, YouTubers on the Diz. They did a Grand Floridian, and there was this red couch, which nothing else in the room was red. It was just this like very plain red suede looking couch, and it had stains all over it, and it just did not fit in that room. And I don't understand like who checked that that was supposed to be in that room, like who signed off on that. It made no sense. So
Okay,
theming wise and color wise, and I don't know why I was in there. So
got it.
anyway, we just trashed the Grand Floridian, um, which it's interesting because it's halfway down our list. It's not at the bottom, so it's interesting that we had that much to say about it. But
Yeah.
um, third on my list is Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Okay. Yeah, that's where we're gonna disagree.
Okay, I feel like that's probably your number one. You love it there. I love it there. You have the Savannah. You have arguably the best food and beverage of all the resorts. You have Sanaa. You have the Mara for the quick service. You have Jigo. You have Boma. It's amazing, absolutely. But the walk to those rooms is insane, and I'll talk about it more when we get to the DVC. But and maybe it's not like that at Jumbo House. I've only stayed at Kidani, but it was like a 20-minute walk to our room, and I don't understand why it's shaped like that. I get it because of the Savannah, but I don't know why you can't just like there isn't like you can walk over the Savannah and get to like the very last room at the other side of the U-shaped hallway.
Agreed.
So but I love the animals, I love the theming, the lobbies in both Kidani and Jumbo House, but especially Jumbo House. It's absolutely beautiful. It reminds me of, not that I've been there, but the videos that I see of Aulani, kind of just big, open, beautiful architecture. So yeah, it's great. I don't have any complaints about it. Just the walk is just insane.
Animal Kingdom Lodge is my number two, and I ranked them differently on my DVC list for a reason. Um, I couldn't move it higher on this or the DVC list for like the reasons you mentioned, but like I want to get the positives out of the way first. It is like one of my favorite places in the world. It's so beautiful. It's so inviting. It smells great in the Jumbo side at least. The restaurants. I mean, I can't think of a place in the world where like there's a better group of restaurants, especially in a non-urban area. It's like remarkable what goes on there, especially when you consider that like a place like Beach and Yacht Club have incredibly limited dining options
Right.
relative to their popularity. It doesn't make any sense. But for that reason, there's a lot of Animal Kingdom Lodge fans, a lot of very passionate Animal Kingdom Lodge DVC owners, and it all makes sense because like the experience you can have there, looking out your bedroom window and seeing a giraffe, like you can't. There's very, very, very few places in the world where you can replicate that, and the prices aren't that crazy relative to some of the other resorts. Like you could spend more at Boardwalk or Beach Club for sure,
Oh
and
yeah.
have, I think, a much, in my opinion, a much lower quality experience. I mean, talk about like little kids seeing the giraffes. I mean, it's awesome. That being said, because I love it so much, like I'm very critical of it. Um, there's a line in this movie that came out last year called "The Last Black Man in San Francisco," where he's on a bus and there's these people who moved to San Francisco just complaining about it, and this guy's lived there his whole life, and he turns to them and says, "You can't hate San Francisco until you love it." Like that's the line in the movie, and that's how I feel about Animal Kingdom Lodge. Like I hate it because I love it, and one of the
Okay.
things I hate about it is that it does. There's a couple things. One of them is it has no ground. It's literally just
Yeah.
lobby, pool, hallway,
Mhm.
and that's why if it fixed that problem, I can get over people's biggest complaint about Animal Kingdom Lodge is typically the length of transportation time to and from the park. I can get over that. Like
Mhm.
I can move on from that. But the lack of like meaningful grounds to walk around is probably the biggest negative for me. Like and the hallways too. It goes hand. The layout is what it is because there's savannas and they have to do this U shape. Like Kidani is like this, and then Jumbo's the other half of the circle. I wish on the outside of the circle there was like resort grounds because
Mhm.
when you're on the outside of the circle, it's like parking lot and like you know dumpsters and stuff. It's not a very inviting place to explore at all, really. I mean, the nice little like when you walk out of the lobby, the little like fire pit, it's amazing, but it just needs like a little bit extra to go from like great to perfect. Like one of the things I really don't like, and I'm talking about first world problems, but I mean, we're talking about high end resorts. At Kidani, there's two issues with Kidani. First is that when you go to the pool, you have to walk into the lobby and out the front door of the lobby, down the parking lot to get to the pool, which doesn't feel very resort-like to me. I get it, but it takes you out of it. And the second thing is if you're staying at Kidani, which many people have to do because it's DVC and there's many more rooms there, and that's realistically where you end up staying if you're going to book DVC. The walk from Kidani to Jumbo, if you don't want to wait for the shuttle, is like it's a 10-minute walk. And if it's hot or if you have little ones or older ones, it is just like, it is not ideal, which is why I love Animal Kingdom Lodge. I put it higher on this list than I did for my DVC list for that reason, because would I love to stay there? Yes. But do I want to commit to staying there? I don't think so.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I totally, that walk, we took the shuttle, and even the shuttle was like a long ride for going right next door. And the only other thing I will say about Kidani is it's unfortunate that they don't have a small quick service, maybe not as, as extensive as the Mara, but just a little something, because we didn't even go. I've heard so many good things about the Mara. And we didn't even go there because when we did take the shuttle over, we went to Boma for breakfast. And then another time we went to Jigo for dinner. I don't think we were going to take the shuttle over there. That's like taking, the bus. Well, not exactly. It's a shorter distance, obviously, but going from Animal Kingdom, the park, to Jumbo House just to get a quick service meal at the Mara. Like, we're not going to do that. So that was unfortunate. And I wish they would have a small quick service location at Kidani.
I feel like that's so inexcusable because it's so far away and people spend all this money to become DVC members, or even if they're paying cash to stay at Kidani. It's crazy. I mean, there's a tiny little like market in the gift shop in Kidani, and it has like small like items like
Doritos.
Yeah, snacks and drinks and stuff. But like they could do that like tomorrow. They could make a quick service place there. It's like necessary. It doesn't have to be like extravagant. It doesn't have to be on the level of the Mara. It just has to be something like the Mara too. Like, open that up. That would be a huge difference. I think it would completely change Kidani, I think, for me.
Yeah.
So that's why it's my number 2. And your number 3.
Well, yes, my number 2 is the Wilderness Lodge, which I'm wearing a Wilderness Lodge shirt right now. It is just the homiest, most wonderful hug of a lobby that you've ever seen, especially when we had Christmas dinner at Whispering Canyon, and you just walk into that lobby and you see that huge Christmas tree, and it was just, you felt like you were in the mountains somewhere, having a good old-fashioned family Christmas. It's great. Again, I haven't stayed there, but that is obviously number 2 on my list to eventually stay, because it's just absolutely gorgeous. I love all like the different pools. I love the Geyser Point. They also have really good restaurants there. I think Whispering Canyon is great now that they've changed Artist Point over to Snow White dining. That's something that's on the top of my list to do. So I think overall it's just a really great resort, and it's usually significantly cheaper than a lot of the rooms are smaller, we'll say that, but it is significantly cheaper than the Grand Floridian or the Contemporary or the Yacht Club. So
I have Polynesian at 3 on my deluxe list, and it's quickly moving up. I stayed there for the first time in November, and I love the vibe. It was like maybe the perfect place to be around the holidays. It is, like you said, it's so cozy, and it has so much going for it. It has the boat to Magic Kingdom. It has 2 DVC resorts built in now. So there's basically 3 different places you can stay within the one facility. The pool is beautiful with the waterfall. And I think the best thing that the Wilderness Lodge does better than a lot of the resorts is it truly creates like a contained enough set of grounds where you can like walk around without getting lost. It's not like the size of Saratoga or the size of Old Key West. It's big enough where you can explore, but not too big that you need a golf cart to get around. Right. It's got so much going for it, and I'll talk more about it on my DVC list because there's, I think, a lot more to say. But for now, it totally deserves to be at the top of these lists for sure.
Yeah. And then number 1, I think we have the same number 1, Polynesian.
Yep, definitely.
Best restaurant on property, in my opinion, Ohana. They got it. They have um, Pineapple Lanai, which you can get Dole Whips there, which it's the only, other than in a park, the only place on property you can get a Dole Whip. Not that that's my favorite snack, but I know everyone loves them. It's just the lobby. I think a lot of people thought that when they took out that ginormous feature in the middle with all the plants and stuff, that the lobby got worse. I think it got a lot better. I remember being there in 8th grade. We went to dinner and I remember seeing that and being like, oh, that looks like it's from the 70s and it looks really dirty. And so when they took that out and just like, I think it's a lot more elegant and a lot more contemporary now. It's perfect. You feel so relaxed there. It smells amazing. You have Kona and Ohana and Captain Cook's. You have Trader Sam's. So I think it's just a great all around. It has, great restaurants, great bars, great pool. The pool is wonderful with the volcano. It's so cool. You can see Cinderella Castle from some of the rooms. I don't think there's any beating it. Plus you have like a beach right there that you can watch the fireworks from. And that's something that I know other resorts do have beach like areas. But I think that is the most thematically that makes sense and that you could, see the fireworks. So all around, just a lovely resort.
The Polynesian is definitely my number one, and I've always loved it since I was very little. I stayed there probably almost 10 years ago, and the Polynesian I feel like is like that, like the charming friend everybody has, that you can't really pinpoint why exactly they're charming, because they have flaws, but they're still like they have like this like almost gravity. And because when you walk around the Polynesian, it's dated. It's like a 70s impression of like the Polynesian or Hawaiian Islands, but it's because it has like this character and charm that almost can't be explained. Like if you've never been there and you just look at pictures, you may not get it. Like it's the smells of Ohana, it's the tiki torches that light up the paths at night. It's just Captain Cook's, like having all of these like little experiences that add up to this one kind of unique resort identity that like it's just not matched at other resorts. The biggest negative for me right now about the Polynesian is that it's just like exorbitantly expensive,
Yeah.
especially cash. It is outrageously expensive, on par with the Grand Floridian, and they get away with it because it's beloved, one, and two, because the rooms are very big. I think that's a big part of it, and a location. So it's got so much going for it with so little thing. I would say maybe they could redo the luau, because the luau is not very popular. Have you done
Yes.
it?
That needs a yes. I did it when I was in 8th grade. And even back then I was like, I think this needs a rewrite. The performers are amazing. Obviously, I mean, they're authentic, they're amazing, very talented, but the story is just weird and needs a rewrite, and I don't get it. Why don't they just do that?
I hear I've never heard anything positive about that show. I know it's expensive. And was the food any
Yeah.
good from your memory?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the food was good, but I feel like if you want a dinner show and you have the choice of that or Hoop-Dee-Doo Review, it's a no-brainer of which one your family should do, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So
It's just there's something about like sometimes I'll go through phases where I think I prefer another resort more. But when I walk back through the Polynesian doors, when I walk along that bridge right before the Polynesian doors where there's like those little waterfalls, right? I'm
yes.
like, okay, I remember why I love this place. I remember why it's my favorite resort, and it probably always will be. It just has something. I think it's like Splash Mountain in the sense that we said before, that like if you could pick one place to take somebody to explain them what Disney World is like in terms of resorts, I would definitely take them to the Polynesian, because it explains it instantly. Like that sense of kind of almost cheesy theming, but like not cheesy enough that it's too much, but like enough that it's charming.
Yeah.
It's a special place that like has a special place in a lot of people's hearts, and it's for a reason. It's a really beautiful special place, and I think it definitely deserves number one.
Yeah. No,
I
I
was going to say,
completely
before we
agree.
move on to DVC, I think we should consider ending here and recording another one, just so we don't run
I
over our time.
I agree.
Does that sound okay with you?
Yes.
All right, we're going to wrap it up with at this point right here. If you'd like, drop a like below, subscribe, and make your own list below in the comments of your favorite deluxe resorts from worst to best, just like we did.
Yeah. Hey, Boardwalk people, Yacht Club people, yell at us. It's fine. I see your points, but you're wrong. I'm just kidding.
All right, well, that's it for now. I'm going to stop recording, and we're going to pick right back up, so you can join us by clicking below to our channel and clicking on episode 4, which should be up today as well.
Bye.